can do a lot on our own, but the road to success is so much easier with the help of a mentor. I personally experienced the impact of having a mentor, and I would like to share my story and the things I learned on the way with you here. So picture this. You are a professional software developer. You've been working for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. But the last years, you started feeling stuck in your career. It's like there is no way forward. Maybe you tried the manager track, but it wasn't really for you. You enjoyed learning, went to courses, conferences like this, but still that feeling of I'm stuck, I can't get on with my career is still there. And all this new technology is overwhelming. The feeling of I cannot keep up. You start to feel like an imposter. The stress is slowly building. So this was me in the spring of 2021. I started feeling physical symptoms. I was very irritated with my wife, with my colleagues, with everything. The smallest setback made me completely crazy. I started losing weight in a bad way. I had trouble sleeping. I started shaking, and sometimes so much I couldn't even type on the keyboard. My wife said, "You need to go see a doctor. This is not normal." But I was thinking, this is just some temporary small flu or whatever, so it will go away. But it didn't. 2 months later, I got a really high fever that I couldn't get down with pills. This was now still COVID times, so that was the assumption that I have COVID. But eventually I actually went to see the doctor. They took lots of tests and got back to me the day after and said, "You need to go to the emergency room immediately. All your values are completely off, really bad." And why? When I got there, they started asking me lots of questions about how much did I smoke, how long have I been smoking. I haven't smoked ever in my life, tried to live healthy. I didn't feel stressed in my work because I've been working with the same thing for a long time. But it turned out I have an autoimmune disorder that could be triggered by being pregnant, which I wasn't, smoking, which I hadn't done, and stress. So actually feeling stuck and overwhelmed and not having a path forward actually triggered this disease in me. But I'm not saying everybody has this problem, it's very rare. But if I didn't have this, I was on the way to burnout. So this was kind of a savior for me. So I got admitted for 5 days. And while this medicine was started working, I got out from the hospital, had medicine, but this feeling of being stuck was still there. I haven't solved the problem, it's just the symptoms that the healthcare took care of. So if we fast forward now a year to the autumn, the following year, so 2022, I found myself at Oracle Code 1 in Las Vegas. Or actually, Las Vegas. And I was even more overwhelmed. All this new stuff, AI, new frameworks, Spring, whatever. But by chance, I went to a session called Growing Beyond Senior. A guy called Bruno was giving this. He has a big Brazilian flag as a cape, so you might know who that is. He was talking about mentorship for senior developers. I didn't even know that existed. And I think maybe some of you are in the same position. So why do we, as senior developers, need mentors? Well, they can actually help us grow. So it's easy to fall into a comfort zone that we rely on our own knowledge. We don't grow and progress. And the truly successful people in our business, they realize the value of continuous growth and the invaluable role a mentor can have in growing. So we can use a mentor's expertise to help us grow. And also help us overcome these fears of failures and looking incompetent. And And like they said in the keynote also, you can watch as much YouTube videos you want, but you need to actually do the things to learn them properly. So if I would watch 10,000 videos of cooking, it won't make me a master chef. I need to do the actual cooking. But this mentor then, where is this from, and what is a mentor? So we go back quite far. This is from the book The Odyssey by Homer. And Odysseus left his household to go and fight the Trojan War. And he left it to his trusted advisor to look after the household, but also to tutor his son, the tall guy here, Telemachus. And the guy's name was Mentor. So now you might think, oh, he did such a good job that this is why Mentor has the name from this character. But actually, he completely failed. The household was in disarray, and Telemachus became a brat, basically. And it took actually the goddess Athena to come and disguised herself as Mentor and turned the thing back to on track. So actually it was a woman who had to clean up the mess of a man, and the man got the credit already back there. But this is the story where mentor got the definition, and the definition of a mentor is this is a trusted advisor, a friend, teacher, or wise person. And we have lots of examples of a good mentor-mentee relationship in history. It could be Socrates and Plato, Haydn and Beethoven. And this is fundamental to human development. There's somebody who invests their time and energy and know-how in assisting somebody else to grow their abilities. And even the most famous people in history, they acknowledge the importance of having a mentor. So Sir Isaac Newton, he says that his groundbreaking discoveries, they are built upon work and knowledge of others. It was not solely his own. So he used the knowledge and discoveries of those who came before him to build upon. And a more recent famous person shows the transformative role a mentor has. It's not the mentor does the job, it's they help you do the job, to show you your potential, basically. But it's still your responsibility as a mentee to take charge and do the work. So what can then a mentor help us with? They talked about learning in the keynote. This is partly like that. They hold us accountable, because I'm going to learn a new language someday. It will never happen. But if you have a person who checks in with you and say, did you do the things you promised to do this week? Even if it's a tiny thing, that is much easier to actually do it. We actually fight procrastination in this way. This also gives us motivation to push through plateaus and setbacks. Remember, failure is also a way to learn, like kids learn. They also can give us feedback and make corrections faster. We will then learn to do right. We can also prioritize. What should I learn next? There's somebody who already did the journey we are on now. And also forces us to do things outside our comfort zone, like me standing in front of you talking. It's way outside my comfort zone. I would not have done that otherwise. We can also learn from a mentor's failures and their experiences, so we don't need to redo the same things. So actually we reinforce our learning and encourage us to continue with the same effort we are actually on, because we see the progress, small steps towards a goal. And this also makes us less stressed. Like for me, I had more of a focus. Where do I want to be? I don't need to bother with all the other stuff around. So we can actually call it just-in-time learning. We see the progress in what we're trying to achieve. It makes us more motivated to continue. And there's actually two kinds of mentorship. And the chances are that many of you already have mentors, maybe not even realizing it. If you follow somebody on social media, you read some blogs, you go to a conference, there's people producing content for others. So a good thing there is to start engaging with these people. If they are doing something you're interested in, why not send a question? Most likely they will answer, because content creators, they do want the interaction. So they also learn things. So there's an excellent opportunity here now. And I was happy I had the first session also. Take the chances now. Go and talk to people here. Most people want to talk to everybody they see. And this first then is called informal mentorship. And it's like a friendship, basically. So it's something that have to grow over time. So you can't really go up to a stranger in town and say, hello, do you want to be my friend? Maybe on the pub or something, but not in town. And it's the same with a mentor then. So you start engaging and then build from that. The other type of mentorship is then the formal mentorship. And it's more of a structured program. Usually you pay for it, or you can even have it like an onboarding on your company. And both have merits. It depends then on your goals and the availability of a mentor, and also resources, of course. If you have to pay for a formal mentorship, it costs money. The informal mentorship is more flexible and can be tailored to specific needs. The formal is more organized and goal-oriented. And most of this presentation is based on my experiences with having a formal mentor, but it's basically the same as the informal. So I can give some example, and it's so fun. He got this lifetime award today. He is considered by me my informal mentor, and it's always a pleasure running into him everywhere. Thank God. And we have built our relationships over many years. I started going to conferences and listened to his sessions because I liked the way he presented content. And then we had training courses, and from that we built our relationship. So he's now a friend and an informal mentor. And the other kind of mentor is the Vinicius Sänger. He works for Amazon, and they have in-house mentorship program, and his mentor is James Gosling. So they're all those two, and there's no problem having both at the same time. And a mentor can have 3 roles. So the first one is the coach. He analyzes where you are and helps you get to where you want to be. And they don't have to be a subject matter expert, so they could be somebody outside the programming world. And then we have the mentor himself. They can help you with specific problems by using their own expertise in the field. So guide and suggest actions based on their knowledge. And the last is a sponsor, which actually then helps create opportunities for you. And that could be a boss or anything. And one person can have more than one of these roles also. And there's also very likely that people close to you are mentors to you, maybe without you knowing it. So for instance, my wife, my biggest supporter, allows me to go to conferences, but also she's an occupational therapist. So by using her, we could discuss stuff and I can see things from her world. Helps me and it helps her also. So she said one thing that I wanted to share, and it's like a variant of a quote that I will give you the original quote, but I need to know where I'm going, otherwise I don't know what I need. So this is the variant of the cat from Alice in Wonderland. So we need to know where we are and where we want to be, where we want to go. The mentor is like the GPS that helps us find our way. They're not doing the work for us. They actually helps us go to where we want to be. And there is a movie quite recently called Naiad. It's about a woman, Diana Naiad. She wanted to swim from Cuba to Key West in Florida. And she did it back in the 70s and failed. And then she wanted to do it again at the age of 60. And there's a very strong currents there in the ocean there. And she had a team helping her. And one of the people in that team was her navigator, John Bartlett. And he uses his extensive knowledge of the Gulf Stream and experience as a sailor to help her navigate the waters, water. So he actually helped her use currents and eddies to her advantage instead of swimming against it. So she knew where she was and where she wanted to be, and also she was willing to put in the work, but she got help from him doing it with less effort than was needed. And how do we then figure out where to go? And we need to set goals. SMART goals, maybe everybody heard of. So instead of saying, I want to improve my leadership skills, we should say, I want to complete a leadership development program within the next 6 months. Then we fulfill all these parts. And also, if we have a problem knowing what we want to do, there is actually mentors for that, like I had. But then we have a goal. There's more things we can do before we actually start having a mentor. And I swear to you, I did not change this after the morning, but Star Wars, Yoda, clever character. So either we do or we don't do stuff. Commit and do. And also, don't be fearful of failing. A mentor, he's not a crutch, or he or she is not a crutch. They will help us help ourselves. So, but we need to put in the work, and it's going to be lots of work. But the mentor have a plan, and we should trust that plan and following it. Be consistent and do small steps towards the goal we have, and we will get there. Skills I have found that helps me as a mentee get the most out of a mentorship is something that was also talked about in the morning, that we believe that we can all learn and grow, embrace challenges, and persist through setbacks, that failure is an opportunity to learn. We should practice critical thinking, and also teach others what we have learned. Not only will you help other people, but you also learn more yourself when you're forced to explain things to people. And this is also an ongoing process. It requires dedication and self-awareness. And also practice. Just watching videos doesn't help, like she talked about in the morning here with the games. It's so much faster if we actually put our learning into practical things. So we should also actively seek out opportunities to learn and acquire new skills, to stay updated where possible. And also, this is a lifelong journey. So it's not completing one course or getting a specific certification. It's a mindset of growth and exploration. So we should never seek opportunities to expand knowledge and our skills. And communication, obvious, easy. We need to be respectful to each other, our mentors. Be grateful for the time and effort they put in, especially an informal mentor. They probably do it for free. And also be open to discussions and willingness to change. Maybe the biggest thing is we should actually listen to understand, not to answer. It's quite easy to, I have a reply in my head, I will not hear what you say until I can say my thing. And also be honest. Stuff needs to change, and some mentors are very honest, and they could be hurtful, but they usually want your best. And then they talked about this morning also, learning a new skill that we do then when having a mentor. There's actually two parts to learning a skill. There's the theoretical understanding, the knowledge, and that we can get from books and from YouTube and blog posts and whatnot. But the skill we need to be able to practically use that thing takes practice. So for instance, public speaking. I can read all the books in the world about public speaking. It will help, but I need to actually do public speaking to be better at it. So how do we then effectively master a new skill? Daniel Coyle says this in his book, The Talent Code, that actually it takes 3 things to learn a new skill. We need deep practice, ignition, and master coaching. And a mentor can actually help us with all of these 3. So ignition is seeing that this is possible. Somebody else has done this before, for instance. So I feel, oh, but if this person can do it, for instance, I standing here talking in front of you. All right, if he can do it, so can I. That's the ignition part. And then you need the practice and the coaching. And if we go back to this mentorship program I'm in, we're actually having weekly meetups in a group of mentees with the mentor. And sometimes we have a guest, but usually there is a theme and then it's open coaching. I have this issue, and also you can hear the other mentees' issues and then learn from others' problems and things. So in one of these meetings, we had a guest, Heinz Kabutz, if anybody heard of him. Works with Java specialists. They have a big newsletter, lots and lots of subscribers. They give courses. He's a Java champion. He's very known. And this is an example then of how my mentor uses his network to connect me and my fellow mentees to people that I normally wouldn't have access to. So this then turned into a 2-hour talk with Heinz, where he talked about how do you start your own business, what do you do when you go to conferences. So basically a 2-hour mentorship with him. And this was very interesting also. We could see then how different mentees were differently prepared for this opportunity. Some people, they had their cameras off. Some people never asked a question. They didn't even introduce themselves. And others were more vocal, more engaging. But they also told me one thing that was interesting about this, that he goes to conferences because he wants to meet people. But rarely people go up and meet him. Maybe if he give a presentation, then directly afterwards people queue to talk to him. But if he sits alone in a table outside, nobody goes up to him and talk to him. And he also feels, I as a speaker cannot go up to you and say, hello, my name is Markus. What do you want to ask me? It's a bit awkward. It's easier if you're an attendee. Say, I went to your presentation. I don't agree about this, or I agree about this, or what. It's easier to start a conversation. So many of the speakers want to talk to you. So take the advantage here and go and do it. So after we had this meeting, I promised I would greet him the next time I saw him. So I managed to do that in Belgium. Heinz in the middle. The other guy is Maurice Naftalin, is another Java champion. So we can actually then take advantage of the big network they have, our mentees, to learn and meet other people, and also maybe have them as mentors eventually. So what I have learned from having a mentor, to set a clear focus and have a goal, it made me calmer and have less fear of missing out on stuff. And that we have to take ownership of our own career. We need to decide, where do I want to go? Nobody will help us with that. But also we have to put in all the work, but we can get help from the mentor. So actually by working smarter, not harder. So this all sounds good, but how do I find a mentor? I was just lucky. But before we find a mentor, what can we do? Greg Everett wrote a book called Tough. He is a weightlifting coach, actually. And he said you need 4 C's, and it's not Simon Brown's container architecture things. It's the capability. It's who am I? The capacity. What am I able to do? The character. What am I willing to withstand? And also the commitment. What am I willing to do to get somewhere? So I like these 4 C's. It's actually related to physical training, but skill as a skill. We also need to identify what goals, what do I want to achieve with this mentorship? Is it a new skill? Is it some career thing? Is it some personal growth I want to do? But also, how much time am I willing to put in? Can I do 5 minutes a day? Can I do 2 hours a day? Because the more time we put in, the more result we'll get. And also we need to allocate that time, so we have options, so we have possibilities to do it. I actually had a short conversation with Venkat after one of our courses, and I asked him, do you know, or what is your opinion of what is the most common thing about mentees that succeed and those who don't? Because he's a mentor for many people, and he also had mentors himself. And he said the one biggest thing that determines the outcome is actually you put in the work. It's as simple as that. Many people don't. They expect to get results without even trying. So put in the work and you'll get result. And also we need to be willing to reflect on our skills. It's not maybe super hard, but also the challenges. These are my weak areas. I want to improve them. So we need to be prepared to discuss those with our mentors. So they can actually then guide us towards the goal we want to have, but we have to put in the work. But it's easier than when we see, okay, this little thing I did now, it takes me closer to where I want to be. It is somebody who guides us like the swimmer there. So that we're looking for mentors. Easiest could be in your own organization, colleagues, maybe a manager. It all depends on your goal. If we start at a new company, they usually have onboarding. But many of you are probably senior in your workplace, and it's a bit harder than to find a mentor in-house maybe. So a conference like this could be a good opportunity. Courses like I did with Venkat. I like the way he focused on when he was working. I talked about that when he's traveling super much. How do you get anything done? Yeah, well, I plan stuff after the time I have available. So I have a half an hour to next flight. What can I do in half an hour? Instead of the first task I need to do is 4 hours work. I can't start this. I only have 30 minutes. So just this little rethinking of planning helped him a lot. And also how he made presentations. So I talked to him about mentoring on one of the courses I had with him. And I also said that this mentoring is hard. I have no plans on becoming a mentor myself. But then he said, but you already are. Because as soon as we share anything, we're actually helping somebody else. And that's kind of a powerful thing to think about. So what can we do more? Well, we can look at online communities, for instance. Open source projects is a good opportunity, because many of you wanted to be participating in one of those things. You can actually then get 2 things done at once. LinkedIn. And this can now be easier or harder depending on your company or your country. Some countries are more willing with these mentorship programs. But the main thing is that we should realize everybody has something to learn and everybody has something to teach. So how do we find the right mentor then? It's very crucial to getting results. So we need to ensure that our goals align, the mentor understands and supports our objectives. They have the relevant information and values so they can communicate clear with us. They also need to be available, and we need to put in the time. But maybe most important is the personal compatibility. We need to be able to communicate clearly and understand each other and have mutual respect. So a good tip is to do an initial conversation, like a one-on-one. Like I did after that presentation he did. I actually went and talked to him after his session, because what he told me then in Code 1 resonated with me. I said, wow, this is exactly my problem. So I never talked to a speaker before, because I was like, ooh, they're a bit bigger and higher up than me. But they're still people. I'm still a person. If I was sitting in a chair there or standing here, it's no difference. So don't be afraid. But if we now find a mentor that we think, oh, this is good, how do we do communication with them? We should be clear about the expectations from the beginning. Set boundaries on response time. In official mentorship is mostly based on volunteering, so we can't really expect them to answer directly. We can be in different time zones and so on. How do we want to communicate? In person is usually preferable, but for instance, in my case, he is in Brazil, so it's online. And also be willing to interact with them more, because then they see, okay, this person is very invested in this. They will give them more possibility to help us. So now, proof that this works. I'm standing here. So I want to share some examples with you to see how this affected me. So I gave this presentation the first time in Belgium last year, and I used many mentors, or several, to help me prepare and research this presentation. So it was both formal and informal mentors. There was everything from how do you write a proposal to be accepted, because like they said this morning, was it 1700 or something? You need to write something that catches the eye of the committee and a relevant subject. But for me, it was this, why should anybody want to listen to me? I don't have anything to say. I don't know anything special. To how do I do information that people are interested about? So by using mentors, say, yeah, but send out a form asking people, what do you want to know? What is your biggest problem around mentoring? My wife, again, she read through my proposal or my presentation, said, this is way too much. Nobody's going to have energy to listen to this. Throw away 30%. Like, okay. That was one of my biggest problems also, oversharing. I wanted everybody to hear everything in my head at the same time. Impossible. And this talking in front of people publicly is, many have this fear, and I also, all the way since back in school, because the Swedish school system doesn't really promote presentations in front of the class, so we are kind of scared of public speaking, and you shouldn't really stand out, which we do when you stand in front of people. So it took many years to practice. I actually was a group training instructor at the local gym to be the one in the spotlight. Very uncomfortable. To try and take a bit of space, it's hard. But then again, we need to practice these things to be better. It will not just happen by itself. And also, it was just after I started this mentorship program that I felt like there's somebody who believes that you can do this, because I didn't on my own. But I want to share what I learned. And to be able to do that, I need to stand here in front of you and do this. And it gets easier. But it's still nervous and it's still hard. But it is worth it. I actually also talked to several other speakers about their first talk. What was their biggest issue? What did you wish you had done differently? So I can actually learn from them. So I had lots of these. And also in my mentee group, I could run through my presentation beforehand, so we can iron out the biggest problems. And also, a presentation is not about me. You're not really here to listen to me. You're here to listen to what I have to say, so it might help you do something. And that's how it should be. To challenge yourself, okay, this is something I can use in my way. So that's why I did this presentation. I wanted to share my experiences, and hopefully somebody learns something from this. And the second thing is, I wanted to, in my work, I am working as an architect, and also this, I want to grow outside work, but I maybe couldn't really do my personal growth thing during business hours. But at the same time, I don't want to spend 10, 15 hours more per week to work on myself, because that's, again, then I will burn out. So I tried to find a way to combine those two. So also through this mentoring, I got into contact with a startup that was doing observability. They're actually here today, down in the exhibition hall. And they needed beta testers for their product. And I had this, at the same time, our product had problems with performance. So I could actually use this open source startup program to work on performance issues at work, and at the same time get connections outside work, and they got better performance. So it's just like a win-win for everybody. And the third thing is we traveled to Amsterdam, and a bag was lost. Basically, the airplane was full, so they left our bag behind. Fun. Earlier, this would have freaked me out completely. Like, I'm in Amsterdam, I have one pair of clothing. It's going to be fun. But the problem here wasn't really the bag was lost. The problem was they didn't tell us where it was, what was going on. They knew where it was, but we didn't get the information. And this then also related back to observability. We were missing feedback from the airline. And this is the same with our code, and that I learned from the working with this open source startup then, that we need to show the information that our code has and can give us, and that's a good learning thing I did from the mentorship, because I took this setback as an example to learn something instead of just freaking out and saying my bag is lost. So before I would have stressed out completely, but now I saw, but this is an opportunity to learn. The bag is lost, but why is it? And I'm thinking of missing information basically. So what do I see looking forward then? I would like to share my experience, which I'm doing now, and also help others that was in my position. There is quite a lot of people who have the same or similar feelings, but it's very not talked about. Something is like being shamed over or something, but it is not really. We are all individuals, we all handle stress or setbacks differently. So, Yoda again. I was lucky today. So we should actually remember that we should pass on what we learned to help others. But you also get lots of benefits yourself by helping others, because software development is quite a young field if you compare to other crafts. So we should actually make sure we continue to build on the skills and knowledge of those who have come before us. So future generations can maybe put in a quote like Isaac Newton said, I did this on people's previous experiences. So we should actually pay it forward. So we can be open to mentoring others. We can connect people with people we know. It's excellent opportunity here. But we can contribute to our mentees' growth. We can foster a culture of networking and growth within the community. And specifically the Java community is super good at this. Very, very friendly people. I was a bit scared going to a speaker dinner in Belgium, for instance, but it's the most friendly people I ever meet. So I highly recommend it. So, and also this, what they did with Venkat today, then he got this lifetime award. He helps people because people helped him. So by providing help to others, we can actually pay back the other people who helped us. It's also very fulfilling and enriching experience that you see that, okay, something I did help somebody else do something they didn't think they could do. There's also giving back to the industry. So to make a lasting impact and also be a lifelong learner and leader. So if you then summarize this, here's the link to the book if anyone's interested. There is mentors for senior developers, and you can find one, either informal or formal. We should try and find our focus and not try and do everything at once. Growth mindset and continuous learning is the way forward. They actually talked about it in the keynote. So we should put in the work to get the results. So by being the best mentee, as our mentor has, we can get the most out of a mentorship program. Just paying somebody doesn't really give any use. We need to put in the work. And we shouldn't compare ourselves to others either, because we don't know what they did to get where they are. It's like this iceberg thing. We only see what's above the surface, not what did they really do to get where they are. And before we wrap up, I have a challenge, and it's very fitting that this is the first session, then you have longer to do it. I want you to talk to 3 people that you didn't know before this conference. And if you learned anything and you want to share it, please share it with me. Either grab me here in the hallways, tag me somewhere, or if you get the book, you will also get my email. So then you can send me an email if you want to do it more in person. Thank you. Any questions? No? No questions? Or? Hold on.
You mentioned that we can go for a formal mentorship where you pay for someone to be your mentor.
Yes.
Where can we get that type of people, organization that organize mentorship for people?
We're talking about paying for a formal mentor. Yes. So my mentor had a session at the conference where they actually talked about mentorship. So he has, for instance, you pay for. There also different levels of mentoring you can have from him. But I'm sure there's others also. You can look in LinkedIn. Maybe there's mentors. But it's not a problem also if you have speakers here, and ask them, are you open to being a formal mentor? What would that be? How much would that cost? Because it all depends on how much effort do they need to put in. If you have, I need to have 1 hour per week personal meetings, it's going to be quite expensive. But for instance, the one I have, it's a group of people, so it's quite affordable to have this mentorship. We meet every week for an hour, but because he has like 10-15 people or even more, the price per person isn't super high. But then to get even more result, you need to have your personal mentor, because there is more of a group thing. So you can't really be super specific for one person's needs, and there's more of a general thing. But we can try and see if there is any here that would be interested. Otherwise, I would recommend LinkedIn, or just searching for, depending on what your goals are. If it's Java, for instance, then you can look at the Java champions. I'm sure many of them are mentors, but it's a bit secret.
When you were setting goals, when you were setting goals of your experience of your mentors, how much of it was you sort of setting your own goals, or your mentor setting them for you, or was it kind of together? What was the sort of proportion?
I would say it was more me trying to figure out who am I, what do I want to do, and him pushing me to actually say, do you really mean this? We had a workshop of find your why. Why am I the way I am? What do I want to do? What are my core values? And that made me reflect on myself a lot. But this started with exercise. You should ask yourself, who am I, 10 times, and then write down the first thing you think of. And then there's some interesting things coming out there. So that was very fun. Very good. On time. Then you have 10 minutes break. Super.